We're going to go over the dihybrid problems and how to work each one of these individually. So I will be using this problem set, which you should be able to download from Schoology. And we've already done number 1 and number 2 in class. If you do not recall doing those, I went ahead and put up this answer key right here, and I'll just work through it. But basically, the first problem, you were crossing capital B, capital B, capital T, with lowercase b, lowercase b, lowercase t, and then all the offspring were capital B, lowercase b, capital T, lowercase t, and we had to cross those two, so the same ones with each other, in a F2 generation. And when we did that, I went ahead and worked it all through here, and these are the genotypes, and these are the phenotypes. So if you don't have those, you can just take a quick look at them, pause the video, fill out your sheet, and just make sure you have the answers for now. For the second one, number 2, all you had to do was go through and fill out the possible genotypes of the parents, or I should say the genes that would be found in the egg and sperm cells that these parents would generate. And so we did the FOIL method, which was like big F, little f, big P, little p. I just went and tried to figure out all the way the F's and the P's can match up, and went and reported them. Okay, for number 3, this one's actually been done already, so I'll just walk you through how I did this, and then for the other ones I'll explain and go along. I just happen to have this one done. In one of my other classes I was able to do this using Google Sheets. Okay, so what the problem asks in number 3 says cross a fruit fly that's heterozygous for both traits. Okay, so what heterozygous means is capital, lowercase, capital, lowercase, since it says for both traits. So that's where the capital W, lowercase w, capital E, lowercase e come from. In the other parent, it says one that is homozygous recessive for both traits, meaning that all letters are going to be lowercase. And that's where those are right there. So when we cross those out, we got to figure out what the allele combinations could be for each one of these parents. And we just use the FOIL method. So capital W, capital E, we put that one there. Capital W, lowercase e, that one goes there. Lowercase w, capital E, that one goes there. Lowercase w, lowercase e, that goes here. For the other parent, where everything is lowercase, it actually becomes extremely easy to do. And so when we carry this thing out, we just matched W's first. Always put the capital letter first, and then do your E's. And same thing, always put the capital first. And what we came up with is something that looks like this. So here's our first combination, second combination, third combination, fourth combination. And since all of these were the same here, basically here is what I did. You guys could just simply write like an arrow that goes down for all the Punnett squares. What I went ahead and did, since I've got it on here, I just kind of filled it in. And if you decide too that you want to carry out your Punnett squares this way, that's fine. If you want to try the spreadsheet way and just kind of follow along and do what I'm doing, it's good. I would recommend probably putting all this on paper though. That way, when you're taking quizzes and things like that in the future, it's easy for you to write it out. But if you want to use this, completely fine. Okay, then I went through and figured out how many of each I had. It was pretty easy because there's 4 unique ones. And then the phenotypes were based upon the genotypes. I have to just go back to the sheet. Capital W, as long as there's a capital W, has normal wings. As long as there's a capital E, there's normal eyes. So normal wings, normal eyes, there are 4. Okay, this one here, since there's 2 lowercase e's, that's the recessive, and that would be small eyes. So I will go ahead and say there's normal wings, small eyes, there's 4 of those. This one has 2 lowercase w's and at least a capital E, so we know the capital E means normal eyes. And then for the 2 lowercase w's, if you have the recessive, you end up with these underdeveloped wings. So we know that that's done. And all lowercase is going to be underdeveloped wings and small eyes. Okay, for number 4, I'm going to copy and paste this thing. And I'll just keep working my way down. And then I'm going to delete this information. So I've got pretty much a blank slate that I can start with. And I'm going to go ahead and delete this. And I'm going to take a look at that problem. So it says a pea, heterozygous for smooth seeds and red flowers, is crossed with a wrinkle-seeded homozygous red flower plant. What is the probability that the offspring will be heterozygous smooth, heterozygous red? It says you are not given information on the recessive gene for this color, but it's actually not needed to answer this question. So this one's a little bit different because it only asks what's the probability that offspring will be heterozygous smooth, homozygous red. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the whole Punnett square because that's what I left you on your worksheet. And I'm going to show you another method that's a little bit faster if you're asked a single question such as this one. So first thing that I get off of here, it says heterozygous for smooth seeds and red flowers. So immediately what I get from that is that smooth is dominant because heterozygous includes a dominant and a recessive allele. And red must be dominant too if it's heterozygous. So we're going to probably just use a capital S for smooth seeds and a capital R for red flowers. Okay, so one parent is smooth, heterozygous, and the other one is red. And I'm going to put an X in for cross. And then the other one, it says wrinkled, which that would be the opposite of smooth. So that must be 2 lowercase letters. And then homozygous red, since it's homozygous, it means the same. Red was a capital R. So it's going to end up looking like this, lowercase, lowercase, capital, capital. Okay, and I'm going to start with the FOIL method with this one. So the possible matches, you'd have a capital S and a capital R. So I'm foiling this one right here. Capital S, lowercase r, lowercase s, capital R, lowercase s, lowercase r. And then down here, they're all going to be the same again. So when we match them, you're going to see it's always a lowercase s and a capital R for this particular situation. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy those down. Okay, now we're just going to match them up. Big S, little s, big R, big R, big S, little s. So I do the s's first, then the r's. Little s, big R, and little s, big R, little r. And again, you can just draw a line down. I'm just going to go ahead and fill them since it's very easy to do on a spreadsheet. But you can basically indicate the same thing by just drawing a line on your paper. Okay, now let's figure out what we have. Anything with a capital S and a capital R is going to be smooth and red. Okay, so we're going to start with big S, big R, big R. There's 4. Big S, big R, little r. There are 4. Oops. Little s, big R. There's 4. And little s, big R, little r. There's also 4. So genotypes are done. I'm going to go ahead and label those as genotypes. Okay, phenotypes. Anything with a capital S and a capital R is going to be smooth, red. So there's 1 here, 1 here. So that actually ends up being 8. And this one here, 2 lowercase s, is going to be wrinkled. And then anything with a big R is red. That'll be the other 8 because there's one, the combination fits that here and one that fits here. So those are your answers. Now the quick version of that thing, if we want to go back and take a look at it, is it asks what is the probability the offspring will be heterozygous smooth, heterozygous red. So all we need to do is look at which ones are heterozygous smooth, heterozygous red. There's 4 that meet that criteria there. And this one would actually be a little bit harder to do the simple way. We can still make it work though. But I think what we'll go ahead and do, we'll skip that one for now because I think I actually might confuse you more by trying to go to that direction. So forget I ever said that. We're just going to move on. Okay, for number 5. Problem says green is dominant over yellow and rough is dominant over smooth. So we know green is dominant, rough is dominant. What will be the phenotype and genotype probabilities of a cross of a heterozygous green smooth and a heterozygous green rough? All right, so heterozygous green would be capital G, lowercase g. And then smooth is a recessive trait. So that's going to be All right, let's do this. I'm going to copy, paste this square, then I'm going to delete everything. All right, so heterozygous green, since green is the dominant trait, I'm going to use a capital G. And then for smooth, do notice in this problem that it says that rough seeds are dominant. So anything with a capital R would be rough. So that ends up meaning that we're probably going to use the letter R. And since it's smooth, there's no capital R's in there. That's going to be its genotype. Big G, little r, little r. And then this one says what will be the phenotype, heterozygous green. So it'll look the same, heterozygous rough. So that's going to be big G, big R, little r. Okay, and that's the cross. Now I'm going to use the FOIL method. I'm going to FOIL this thing out. So first out or inner last. I just got to figure out all the ways the G's and the R's can match up. So we're going to have one of those, and then the lowercase g is going to look like that, matching with the lowercase r, and so is this one. Okay, now for this one, you might remember just from above when we start looking at this, we're going to have all different letter combinations here. So it's going to be big G, big R, big G, little G, big R, and little g, little r. We're going to go ahead and match those up. Big G, big R, little r. Big G, big R, little r. Big G, big R, little r. Okay, now, I guess we could have probably just copied and pasted these over since those were the same, but it doesn't take much time to type those. So I'm just going to do that. Okay, big G, little r, and same with that one. Okay, big G, big R, little r. Okay, this one's little g, big R, little r, and same thing. And the last one, big G, little r, little r. Big G, little r. And then everything will be lowercase here. Oops. Okay, and that's what we're sitting with for those. Now for the genotypes. This one we might have to go through and do some crossing out just to make sure we don't double count anything. Okay, so I'm just going to start with this one right here. Big G, big R, big R. Oh, I messed that one up. That should be big G, big R, little r. So I'm going to make a fix to that thing there. Okay, so there are 1, 2. I'm going to go ahead and just use the strike through feature to know that I've counted those already. Okay, and the next one is the big little. And there are a couple of those there. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Big G, big R, little r. There are 4. Okay, next one will be the big G, little r. There are 1, 2. And that's it. Go to my next combination, big G, little r, little r. Looks like there's 4 of those. So there's 2 here, 2 here. I got the little g, big R, little r. There's 2 of those. Little g, little r is 2. Okay, now going through the phenotypes. And with a capital G and a capital R, that should give us green. And just double checking it again is green. And then rough. Okay, green rough. Okay, we have 2 plus 4. That gives us 6 that can have that combination. Because all you need is one capital G, one capital R since it's the dominant trait. Okay, so those are accounted for. All right, the next one, big G and a little r, would be green smooth. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 6 of those. Okay, so those are counted for. Now we have the 2 little G's and a big R. So the opposite of green was yellow. And R stands for rough. There's 2 of those. And then for the lowercase, those would be yellow and smooth seats. And that'll be 2. And again, just double check that these numbers add up. We talked about this in class, but it's just good to do quick. So I got 12, 14, 16, and then 6. 4 plus 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8, plus 4 is 12, plus 2 is 14, plus 2 is 16. So that one should be good. Okay, for problem number 6, it states rough is coded for by a dominant gene, black is coded for by a dominant gene. So it immediately establishes that. So we'll probably use the capital R for rough and a capital B for black. It says a rough black guinea pig was bred with a rough white guinea pig. So let's just try to set up what we can from this one. So rough and black. What we know from that one, at a minimum, I'm just going to reset my square here. Okay, what we know for sure is that you have a rough, okay, and all you need is one capital R for rough, and then for black, all we need is one capital B, because it really doesn't tell us which combination it is. There's not a heterozygous or a homozygous that gives us any indication to tell us what it is for sure. Okay, and then this one's rough and white. So what we know from this one, again, is at least there's one capital R. What we do know for sure, since white's the recessive, it's opposite of black, you're going to need 2 lowercase b's. Now, the problem gives us a clue that will allow us to make a determination on the parents. So you get rough and black, you get rough and white, smooth black, and smooth white. So they end up having offspring with all the possible combinations. So what we'll do with that, it lets us know that when these 2 parents mate, they have to have these lowercase letters. Otherwise, there is no way that you would get a guinea pig that has all the recessive traits, which is smooth and white. So that means this parent must have a lowercase r, a recessive version, and this must be a lowercase b. And the same thing with this one, we have to have a recessive. Otherwise, there'd be no way we get smooth. You'd have a capital R. You would end up getting 2 lowercase r's ever. So that's how you figure that out. So if that's a little confusing, another way you can try this is just work your Punnett square and see if your results make sense. But a lot of times you can read through the problem and it'll give you just enough information that you can figure those out. So we're going to use the FOIL method. I'm going to undo my strike through again. So it's going to be RB, capital R, capital B, capital R, lowercase b, lowercase r, capital B, and then lowercase r, lowercase b. I'm going to get rid of all those strike throughs. Okay, and then the other one's going to be capital R, lowercase b, capital R, lowercase b, lowercase r, lowercase b, lowercase r, lowercase b. Okay, so we'll be able to do a little bit of the fill with the arrows when we get to this. So we're going to start with our first combination, big R, big B, little b. So remember to do your first letters, your first set of letters, however you set them up, and it really doesn't make a difference. I just put mine in order with the problems. Keep those letters together first, and then do the second set. That way you're not mixing up all the capital and lower cases. If you stay consistent, these problems are actually pretty easy to do. They just take time. So we do this one, and then we go for the next one. Big R, little b, little b. Big R, big B, little b. Big R, little b, little b. And since that other row is the same, I just draw an arrow down. Since I can fill, I'm going to go ahead and fill. And we have, for the next one, big R, big B, little b. Big R, little b, little b. Little r, big B, little b. And looks like little r, little b, little b. And same thing. Those should all be the same. Fill those through. And we can start figuring up our genotypes. Let's start with these. So we have 2 for sure. And I don't see any others, so we're going to cross them out and indicate we have 2. Okay, our next combination, let's use these. So we have one here, and I don't see any others, so that would be two of those. Okay, our next combination is big littles. So here's one, here's one, here's one, here's one. And that looks like that's it. So there's four of those. And let's start with this one here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. Strike those through. Big R, little r. Oops. Big R, little b, little b. It's 4. Then I've got 2 of these. Little r, big B, little b. And then 2 of these. And we're good. Okay, so oops, put that on there. Phenotypes. Okay, anything with a capital R and a capital B is going to be rough, black. So there's 2, 4, 8. There's only 2 and 4, so there's 6. Because this one here, since it's lowercase b, that'd be white. So 6 out of the 16 should look like that. I'm going to go ahead and, since that's out of order, just cross that through. Okay, the next one is rough, and the 2 lowercase b's make it white. So that counts these 2 and these 4, so that's 6. Okay, and that'll get rid of those. Okay, then I got 2 lowercase r's, which would be smooth, fur, and since there's at least one capital B is black, there's 2. And then the smooth white, all recessive, is 2. So if we just check the problem, the majority of them of the offspring we predict to be rough black, rough white. Again, remember these are just predictions, and that seems to work pretty good here, 28 and 31. And then we have roughly equal numbers of smooth black and smooth white, which makes sense here because we predicted 2 and 2, and there's less than these. So we're pretty confident that this one's right. Okay, for number 7, this one's just slightly more complex. This brings into our overall view of what we're doing into a part of genetics is called complex inheritance, which means it doesn't necessarily follow dominant and recessive. All incomplete dominant means is that you have 2 alleles for a trait, and they'll blend. Kind of like if you were to mix a red paint and a white paint together, you get pink. That's kind of what happens in this situation. One doesn't dominate another. So with that in mind, let's go through and work this problem. It says hair can either be pure black or pure blonde. It says if the genotype is heterozygous, the hair would appear brown. So black and blonde, neither one are dominant, because when you put them together, you get brown. And it doesn't say anything about the curly until here. It says heterozygous curly. So being as heterozygous, it means it contains a dominant and a recessive allele. Curly must be the dominant trait, which the opposite of curly is going to be straight. So dominant is curly, so we'll probably use a capital C for that one. And then straight, we'll use a lowercase c. And then if you have brown hair, remember it's a combination between black and blonde. So we just will use a B for that one. Since neither one of them is dominant, sometimes what's done is you put like a little apostrophe. So I'll just show you how this would typically be worked. So for example, we might have a B and then a B like a prime right there. And what that would indicate is this capital B, we could just say is black. The B with the little apostrophe or prime on it would stand for blonde. And then of course you put the 2 together, you get brown. I'm going to try to keep it a little simpler. We're just going to use a capital and a lowercase. And just know that if we have a capital and a lowercase, it's a blend. I'm going to let capital B equal brown hair. Lowercase b is going to equal blonde. Capital C is curly. And lowercase c is straight hair. I'll just put all those letters up there just to try to keep this a little bit straighter. Okay, so capital B, lowercase b. would be our brown-haired person. So it says cross a heterozygous curly brown-haired person. Well, let's go and put curly first then. So heterozygous curly would be capital C, lowercase c. And then our other parent says cross a, straight hair. So that would be 2 lowercase c's. And then brown would be our capital lowercase. Okay, looks like that. Okay, do the FOIL method. Okay, and then this one, what I'm going to do just so I can do, well, it doesn't matter. I'll just go with the normal way I've been doing this. You can see there's repeat in here. Okay, so I'm going to go and do this one first. Big C, little c, big B, big B. Big C, little c, big B, little b. Little c, big B, big B. And little c, big B, little b. Okay, being this one is the same as this one, I'm just going to go and fill it. So what you can do ahead of time is you could set these two side by side, so you can just draw an arrow down. Or if you can find another way to do it, it really is fine. But it just saves you some work. We don't have to write these things over and over, because there's quite a few letters to keep track of. All right, so I'm going to go and continue. Big C, little c, big B, little b. Big C, little c, little b, little b. Little c, big B, little b. And then all lowercase. And I'm going to go ahead and copy that over. Okay, genotypes. I'm going to start with the top left one here. Big C, big B, big B. I know there's one here, and I know there's one here. And that's all I see. Okay, so there are 2 of those. Okay, I'm going to move to this one. Big C, big B, little b. There's one here, one here, one here, and one here. So it looks like we have 4. Okay, next one we need to count. Little c, big B, big B. There's one there. There's one there. That looks like that's it. Okay, next one is this one. 2 little c's, a big B, and a little b. 2. Okay, then we got a big C and a little c and 2 little b's. Okay, so we got one here, one here. And then we have, oh, looks like I missed a couple here. This is why you cross them out as you go. So it looks like this one and this one I have not counted. So that one's going to go from 2 to 4. And then the one that's left is all lowercase, little c, little b, little b. There's 2 of those. So it's always a good idea to check those off. Sometimes you just don't notice them when you're working through the first time. Okay, let's start with the 2 dominants. So capital C is curly. And then if we have our 2 big B's, oops, I need to change that. That was black. Okay, big B, little b was blonde. Okay, so it's curly black. There's 2 of those. Curly blonde is any combination of the B's with at least one capital C. So it looks like we got 4 of those. Okay, lowercase c is going to be straight. Oops, I messed that up again. Lowercase b is actually brown. It's a combination of the 2. I make a switch here, so that's actually brown. There are 2. Oh, looks like there's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, there's actually more there that fit that criteria. So these 2 are both straight. Oh, I must have extra ones here. Better double check. 2, 6, 8, 12, 14, 16. So it looks like I just double counted these things. I go through and make sure that is what I have. Okay, that find feature will not work. Okay, so 2 lowercase c's, a capital lowercase. There's one here. Go through and uncheck these and then come back to them. So there's one there, one here, one here, here. Looks like there's only 4 of those. So it looks like I got some fixing to do there. I guess we need to go back through and verify these. So this one and this one are done. 2 of those. 2, 3, 4. There are 4 of those. That one's good. 2 little c's. Big B and a little b. Okay, there are 4 of those. Okay, big C, little b, little b. There are 2 of those. Okay, so here's where I got off. There's 2 lowercase c's, 2 capital B's. 2 of those. And 2 of these, which we do have already. Okay, so moving on. We'll have to change that from 6 to 4. Okay, so 2 lowercase c's will make it straight. 2 capital B's will be black hair. There's 2 of those. Okay, this one's curly, and then 2 lowercase b's make it blonde. And then all lowercase will be straight blonde. 2. Okay, so let's double count these. 2 plus 4, 6, 10, 12, 14, 16. Can be relatively confident that we got this one right. So this one has an added level of complexity to it, because if you have a heterozygous, it's a blend between black and blonde. So some mistakes are in there, but hopefully you kind of got to see how you work through those. It does happen when you're working on things. You misread something, put the wrong letter down. Very easy to do. So all you need to do is go back through when you're finding errors or things that don't appear right and make fixes. Okay, for number 8, this one is a little bit better. It does have an F1 and an F2. So immediately what I know is the F1, they'll all be the same. All the offspring will be identical. And then the F2, I already know just because once you do these enough, you really just notice the patterns. The F2, for these type of problems, the phenotypes will always be 9 to 3 to 3 to 1. So I'll show you how that works. So it says curly hair is dominant over straight. It says a male parent, homozygous for brown eyes and straight hair, and a female parent with blue eyes and homozygous curly hair have a child. So what we know is brown eyes are dominant. So that means the female parent has blue eyes. So that'd be 2 lowercase b's. We'll just use a capital B to represent brown. Let's go and type that in. Lowercase b will be blue. And then back to that problem. Curly hair is dominant over straight, so we'll use a capital C for curly, lowercase c for straight. Okay, let's go and do the male parent first. We'll just stick in order. So homozygous for brown, so that'll be 2 capital B's. And then straight hair is recessive, so that'll be 2 lowercase c's. And then we have a female parent with blue eyes, so that'd be 2 lowercase b's. And they said heterozygous curly hair. Okay, curly hair. Oh, my bad. Homozygous curly hair. So that would be 2 capital C's. Have a chop. All right, so we're going to use the FOIL method. Okay, the only gametes she's going to produce look like this. Lower B, capital C. And then this one's going to look like this. And they will be all the same, so your job is actually very, very easy for this first one. So we're just going to draw an arrow over, or if you're doing it on a spreadsheet like me, we just fill it down. They're all the same. So this is the F1 generation, first generation. For an F2, we're going to cross 2 of these. So I'm going to make a copy here, copy here. This will be the F2. And it'll be big B, big C, crosses big B, big C, little c. And we'll get rid of those. Oh, forgot to do the genotype, so it's going to be big little. There's 16, which means that they're going to have brown eyes, because capital B is brown. And curly hair, 16. Okay, now this one takes a little more time because you have to match them up. So when you have to do these, just be prepared. It's going to take a little while to fill these out. So big B, big C, little c. Okay, now we got a big B, little b, big C, little c. It looks like these are all looking the same. Oh, I know why. I need to FOIL them. All right, so I copied these over, but I didn't mean to put those in. I just kind of went along. Okay, let's do the FOIL method. It's going to be big B, big C, big little big, and then little. And the nice thing is at least we can just repeat that because the other parent is exactly the same. I'm going to change that. That should be a BC, like that. And we'll start matching them up. Big B, big C, little c. Save a little bit of hat time. I went ahead and paused the video and just finished filling those out. So if you don't remember how to do those, just watch some of the previous videos or just notice I matched the B's and the C's. Genotypes is going to take a little while to get that done. So let's just start working through them. One of those. Okay, next one's big B, big C, little c. One here and one here. Okay, next one's big B, big C. Only one of those. Okay, big B, big C, little c. There's one here, here, and here. So 4. Okay, then we have big B, little c. Only one of those. Cross it out. Big B, little c. One here, and there's one here, so there's 2. Then we have little b, big C, only 1. Little b, big C, little c, there's 2. And little b, little c, there's 1. That'll count the rest of those out. Okay, phenotypes. Remember we said it was going to be a 9 to 3 to 3 to 1. So anything that's capital B, capital C, it's going to be brown, curly. So that fits this one, this one, this one, this one. So it makes them all alike. There's at least one capital B, one capital C. that is a total of 9. So there's the first number. Okay, next one is 2 capital B's. So there's one, it's brown. With the 2 lowercase c's, this would be straight hair. There are 3. So those 2 fit that criteria. Okay, 2 lowercase b's mean that we have blue eyes. And a capital C is going to give us curly hair. There's 3 of those. Okay, so right there is at least one capital C, which is going to give curly, and the 2 lowercase b's give the blue eyes. Then we have blue straight hair. There's 1. Okay, so there's our 9 to 3 to 3 to 1 that we said would happen. For problem number 9, it looks like we're getting into P's. It says tall is dominant over short, and red is dominant over white. So we're going to go ahead and put those in now. So T is tall, lowercase t is short, R is going to be red, and lowercase r for this situation's white. Okay, let's get our parents. It says heterozygous tall, heterozygous red. It says if 2 of them are crossed. So heterozygous tall, heterozygous red. It's going to be very similar to this problem. We're just changing the letters up. So let's see if we can do this real quick. Okay, so we use the FOIL method, big T, little r. And then the same for this one. Okay, I'm going to pause this, and then in a moment here, you'll see them all play out. Since we did this above, I'm just going to make sure it's changed up. So I went ahead and just completed that here for you so that you can see what the general results were. Again, it's 9 to 3 to 3 to 1. So once you get used to these, you already know the answer coming in. Number 10 says in pea plants, green pods and tall stems are dominant. So we can probably go and put that on there. So G is equal for green. Let's find out what lowercase g is here. Yellow and dwarf are recessive. So yellow. T is tall. Lowercase t is dwarf. Okay, it says give the phenotype and genotype probabilities for a cross of heterozygous green dwarf. So heterozygous green, big G, little g, and then dwarf would be 2 lowercase t's. Crossed with heterozygous green, heterozygous tall. So it tells us that they're heterozygous, which again means different. And that'll be what we should have set up. So let's go ahead and get one parent. Just going to start with this one. Big G, little t, big G, little t, little g, little t, little g, little t. And this one's going to be big G, big T, big G, little t, little g, big T, and little g, little t. And then we're just going to match them up. And that one will end up being the same. So I'm going to skip around here just a little bit because I'll be able to fill. This one's going to be big G, little t, little t, big G, little t, little t. Okay, this one's going to be big G, little t, and little g, big T, little t. And then big G, little t, and then all some lowercase. Alright, so the reason I did this is since these are the same as this, I'm going to fill it over, and you can just use an arrow to do the same thing. I'll fill this one over. Alright, let's go and figure out what we have. So we have big T, little t. One here, and that is it. Okay, next one, big G, little t, one here, one here, one here, one here. So say we got 4. Cross those out so if we're on the problems we can identify it quickly, hopefully. Okay, next one, big G, little t, little t. 1, 2. Okay, next possible combination is big G, little t, little t. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have little g, big T, little t. There's 2 of those. And then little g, little t, little t is 2. Okay, so anything with a capital G is green, anything with a capital T is tall, so green, tall. There are 2 plus 4 is 6. And that's all that have that. So we're going to cross those 2 out. Next one is green and dwarf. Looks like we have 6 of those that fit that. There's at least one capital G and then the 2 lowercase t's. Okay, the other one is yellow because there's 2 lowercase g's, and tall because there's 1 capital T. There's 2. And then yellow and dwarf. There are 2. Again, just double check that everything adds up, which in this case it does. 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 2 is 14, plus 2 is 16. So that'll finish all those problems. I'm going to go through and make a couple of slight changes to the key. But between the video and the key, hopefully you've learned how to do these dihybrid problems.